Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Agents who are realtors do more than open doors. They analyze market trends, interest rates, comps. They can tell you about flood zones, mixed-use zones, and decode acronyms like HOA, APR, MLS. They connect you to lawyers, contractors, even Phil, the sewer scope guy. They negotiate, coordinate, advocate for you, close the deal with you, and hand the keys to you. They bring you home. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And on tonight's episode, we're going to do our Frankenstein prospects. That's where we're going to combine tools of one player with another, put together our perfect prospect, if you will. This is the first time we've done this in almost 3 years. And in a moment, I'm actually going to go back to that 2023 episode to highlight what we selected at the time. But first, Orioles on the Verge is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ Bars, 8 IQ Mix Sticks, and 4 IQ Joe Sticks. All IQ Bar ingredients are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. All IQ Bar products are packed with clean, delicious ingredients to keep you physically and mentally fit, like magnesium, lion's mane, and more. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bars, brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. I personally tried a few IQ Bar flavors myself. They're all pretty good. I'm hoping to check out more in the coming weeks. And that's a good time to mention that right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. Text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Now, as I mentioned, this episode is a fun one that we haven't done in a while. And that's where we're going to combine traits from one player with another. And this all started because after an episode in 2023, we were sitting around talking, and Nick said, what if I could combine Colton Cowser's hit tool with Dante Williams' fielding tool? And that started the impetus for an entire episode that went like this. Our 2023 Frankenstein picks, I'll start with Nick. He wanted to combine Dylan Beavers with Cesar Prieto's hit tool. And then Cade Povich with Carlos Tavares' changeup and Kyle Branovich's command. Bob had Joey Ortiz with Jackson Holliday's plate discipline. And then Gene Pinto with basically every pitcher in the Orioles farm system. Mondesi Charles, fastball, Cade Povich's curveball, and Ryan Watson's mound presence, or as Bob put it, his grittiness. I had Colton Cowser with Luis Valdez's speed, and then Chase McDermott with Garrett Stallings' command. So that gives you a sample of how we've done this in the past and a little bit of a preview of how we're going to handle things tonight. But Before we get into our 2026 picks, any reflections on what we were thinking back in 2023?
Yeah, I do. I think a successful experiment on Dylan Beavers because he got Cesar Prieto's hit tool back then, and now he's a MLB Rookie of the Year candidate, and Cesar Prieto is still in AAA.
I was going to say, first of all, I'm glad you mentioned that this was 2023 because I saw you put these down there, and I was like, if this was last year, we gotta stop doing the show. But 2023 makes a lot more sense. It's fun to think about. It's fine. I don't want to go back 3 years anymore though and listen to our episode.
All I know is that between our ads now from our current network and that really long intro that our former network had, it takes like 5 minutes before you get into an episode now. If you go back and listen to an old one, trust me, it's well worth it because somewhere in the algorithm we might get something out of that. But it does take like 5 minutes to get into an episode from pre-2024. But I want to start back with Nick on this one because Nick had Dylan Beavers as one of his picks in 2023 and kind of going back into the well a little bit here in 2026, but in a much different way.
Yeah, so I was deciding how I wanted to attack this first and foremost. Like, am I going to build a brand new prospect from scratch? Do we go that far? But for context, what I did with my picks is maybe I went too deep into this, but I looked at the current Orioles Major League roster, and if I could pick one hitting and one pitching prospect to switch out a tool that takes them to the next level, how can I create the most impact? And I went down the list a little bit. So, like, I thought about Nate George's power, right? But he's still a teenager, strong raw power. I'm going to let that develop naturally. I thought about Vahiva Loy's hit tool, but we haven't even seen him in a full year of pro ball so far. So we don't know what exactly it's going to look like. It could be stronger than what we thought when he gets to Frederick this year. So I went down our prospect list a little bit, and I'm creating newer prospects to just have more like bona fide darts to throw at the wall to get one of these guys to stick. And so I'm building on my Dylan Beavers pick from 3 years ago, and I'm giving the Dylan Beavers hit tool and plate awareness and all that to Thomas Sosa for my hitter. Like, yeah, Beavers has some holes in his swing still, we know that, but not perfect. But Sosa's 21 years old and in Double-A. Fangraphs gives Sosa a 35 hit tool. Baseball America has it as a 40. It's among the worst in the organization if you're using those ratings. But he's among the best in the organization in raw power. I think he settles in at least average speed, so enough to keep pitchers on their toes. The arm strength is one of the higher grades in the system as well. The rest of the defense, I think, could be passable with more experience, and I'm fine with that. But if Thomas Sosa can hunt fastballs like Dylan Beavers did last year, bring that strikeout rate to where Dylan Beavers was at, 22, 23%, with more walks, like that's Thomas Sosa is a major league corner outfielder who, even if he doesn't hit lefties, he's mashing against right-handed pitching and in the lineup most nights and fighting for a big league spot at 22 years old. So, yeah, I wanted to give Aloy the better hit tool, and then we have a major league lineup like opening day next year of Pete Alonso, Jackson Holliday, Vahiva Aloy, and Gunnar Henderson, and we don't have to worry about the wind blowing too hard, Jordan Westburg hurting himself. But I believe in Thomas Sosa so much. I want to believe in Thomas Sosa so much. So if I'm going to give him that stronger hit tool, bam, there we go. He's a starting corner outfielder in the big leagues within the next year.
You just hurt Jordan Westbrook's feelings. He's out for 2 more months. No, I like that a lot. You took Cesar Prieto's hit tool, gave it to Dylan Beavers. In turn, give it to Thomas Sosa. Love it. And then we'll give Thomas Sosa's hit tool in 3 years to X player that we don't know yet. I like it.
Thomas Sosa's hit tool is Steven Martinez. I'll call that shot right now.
There we go.
Yeah, I think this is a really good pick because Beaver's hit tool has come so far in the last 2 years that if we can see anything resembling that development from Sosa with his power and with his arm, I think you're looking at a guy that's going from kind of fringe minor league, major league depth to possible everyday right fielder in the big league. So this is a really good pick.
Okay, I'll move to mine, or do we want to do your pitcher? Should I do my hitter?
Go ahead and move over to your hitter, Bob, and then we'll circle back to Nick when we get into the pitcher.
Okay. Well, I did a similar thing to Nick, except I'm like, let's go right from the top. Why not? Well, maybe not the very, very top, but Enrique Bradfield Jr. He's got 80 grade speed, 80 grade fielding. He's got a solid hit tool. He's got good plate discipline. He's got, what's the other tool? Arm is okay, good enough. Let's go ahead and give him Samuel Basallo's power. We're basically talking about, at that point, prime 24-year-old Barry Bonds, except he can play 80 grade center field defense. Like, I think Enrique Bradfield Jr., even if he can just hit enough, hit like a 650 OPS, we're talking like a 3 or 4 win player. If he's a regular, if he can have a 65 power tool, 70 power tool, what have you, skyline's the limit. Esteban Mejia gave the permission to use that descriptor. Yeah, I just think even Garrett would like Enrique Bradfield Jr. at that point. Shout out to patron and Discord prolific poster over there.
If Bradfield develops Basallo's power, he's getting popped faster than Jurickson Profile did. But he's the ultimate prospect at that point, for sure. I think that's more in line with the meaning of the Frankenstein prospect, because that is a freak prospect right there.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's either Barry Bonds or that's Mike Trout from 2012 to whenever he stopped being able to play 100 games in a season.
And wouldn't you love to have it? It wouldn't match Connor Griffin, though, because he's the best prospect of all time.
I'll go over to mine now before we go down that rabbit hole. And I went a little bit different, I think, than Bob and Nick, because I kind of went with the guy of the hit tool that I liked, but tried to round out the other parts of his game. And that's Aaron Estrada with Griff O'Farrell's glove. I started to think about this recently because I think it was when I was putting together my top 50 list. Estrada fell outside of my top 10, even though I am a believer in the bat, and a lot of that was because of the glove. We still don't know where he's going to end up. It seems like if there's a position he can play regularly in the major leagues, it's going to be second base, but kind of like Connor Norby a few years ago, I'm not sure that the defense is quite there to be able to pencil him in as an everyday second baseman. You start to run into question marks about the versatility. Meanwhile, with Griff O'Farrell, we talked about this a lot last week. There are substantial questions about that hit tool. There's a lot of reasons to believe he's not going to be able to drive the ball consistently enough to be an everyday player in the majors. But if there's one skill of Griff O'Farrell's you can't doubt, it's the glove. It's his internal clock. It's his instincts on both sides of the second base bag. And even if you think that O'Farrell is going to probably profile better as a second baseman in the big leagues because of his arm strength, which is something we talked about last week, you at least know he can play shortstop. And right now, you can't really say that about Aaron Estrada. If you could at least feel like Estrada could be a part-time shortstop for you and a plus defender at second base with the bat that he has, that's a bona fide top 10 prospect, even a really solid back half of the top 100 list guy. So Estrada has certainly come a long way with the hit tool in the last few years, and if there was just a little bit more certainty about the glove, we'd feel even better about him. And if you gave him Griff O'Farrell's glove, that would solidify him in my mind as an everyday big leaguer.
Yeah, I love this because I just said on our previous episode a couple of days ago that I think, bold prediction, Aaron Estrada going to do enough with the glove this year to be a unanimous top 100 prospect by the end of the season. If you give him Griff O'Farrell's glove, I mean, we're talking like a top 20, top 25 prospect in the game, I would say, because no offense to Connor Norby, who I really liked as a prospect, and I think he's a solid player, but Aaron Estrada at 20 years old hit a ball harder than Connor Norby's ever hit in his life. So I think the bat has way more upside with Estrada if he could play even close to Griff O'Farrell's defense at second base. We're sitting really pretty with him. Or even if he can just be passable at left field, second base, if he could be more versatile and be the guy that can move over the field, he just needs to get those reps in defensively. So yeah, let's just skip the process and give him Griff O'Farrell's glove, and he's in the majors tomorrow.
We're not comparing them at all. We keep bringing up Connor Norby. They are not in the same realm of prospect. But is for second base defense, or do we just call it the Connor Norby scale? Like if you're above Connor Norby, is it Connor Norby plus defensive rating for Orioles prospects?
Yeah, we have Dean Kramer plus Dean plus in the Discord for every starting pitcher we compare to Dean Kramer. We got to have the prospect defense, the Norby plus.
Yeah, here's Norby plus. Where does Aaron Estrada fall? Like, jokes aside, I don't know, but I would like to ask, like, you can get John Muley back on, get his thoughts about this, but like, how does Estrada's defense, how does the org view his defense compared to that? I think that would help me determine, like, okay, like how much growth has that glove shown for Estrada? And I think this is the year, like, you see a lot of that. And of course, that even opens up a bigger conversation to, like, for some of these prospects, is it best to keep moving them around because we know the Orioles like that defensive versatility? Or for a guy like Estrada, would it be best just to say you're the everyday second baseman this year, or keep moving him to the outfield as well? But that's another show. But yeah, I like that. You solidify the glove for Estrada, you've got one of the most well-rounded prospects in the entire system.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Need parts fast? O'Reilly Auto Parts has fast. Need them now? We've got now. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. We're O'Reilly Fast. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're a pro at running your life, at committing to your workout, at showing up every day. At Bombas, we're pros too. Pros at making socks. Our sport assortment has specialized socks for whatever sport you're committed to. Running, hiking, golf, Pilates, and so much more. Made with sweat-wicking yarns, blister-fighting details, and targeted arch support. Bombas Sport is pro-level socks from the pros of socks. For another pro, you. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com and use code audio.
Let's go over the pitching now. We'll start back at Nick for this one.
All right, my pitcher. So same thing, same concept. I went down the list a little bit, and I took one of these fringier pitching prospects, and let's kind of put him firmly in the mix with the top tier. Let's add another bullet here. And so I'm taking Juan Watts-Brown, and I'm going to give him the Levi Wells fastball. I just said last episode, we're not giving Juan Watts-Brown the 70 grade fastball, but we are today. And the Levi Wells fastball may be a bit of a cheat code. You know, we've referenced Jeff Ponce's article about Wells' fastball. It's a bit of a unicorn pitch there. But the idea is that it gives Juan Watts-Brown a few more ticks because he's sitting, like lower 90s. I think he can touch in the upper 90s, but he's sitting low 90s. You give that fastball a few more ticks. He's already had some of the better secondaries in the organization. He's got a career strikeout rate of around 30% through 2 seasons. He struck out 32% of hitters in Double-A last year after the trade, so just with the Bay Sox. A 159 average against, a 17% swinging strike rate on the year. So actually, each of his first 2 years through Double-A, he's had a 17% swinging strike rate. But I know I've written about this. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast. If you look at his Fangraphs report, Fangraphs labels the fastball as an issue that's kind of keeping him at that starter reliever line. John Muley noted this as well in his Baseball America write-up. It says, quote, Watts-Brown can pitch in the big leagues in some capacity simply because of his slider, but a starter's role depends on improving his fastball, be it different shape or velo. So let's change both and give him that bona fide fastball there. I think if you do that, he's in big league camp now. And Albernaz, he's part of that group where Albernaz is just calling gross. That's Jerron Watts Brown is in there as well. But yeah, just the idea that I'm a big believer in Watts Brown as well. But the big question with him is, how far is that fastball going to take him?
I like that. And as a matter of fact, I kind of did something very similar. I took Trey Gibson, who started at the time of this recording, today's spring training game. And all I saw after that, where he pitched 4 innings, he gave up a 2-run homer, otherwise was pretty decent, was fastball's not going to play. That's not a prospect. He's a non-prospect if we're only going off the fastball. Just everybody crapping on Trey Gibson's fastball, which fair. I mean, it was averaging like 92 something with only 14 IVB today, his 4-seam fastball. But I do feel like last year, I feel like he started slow velocity wise and really is a guy that just gets stronger as the year goes on. Nick, I think you can confirm that. Didn't he start a little bit lower last year?
Yeah, I remember last year it was cold. He was up in like Brooklyn or something, and he was throwing like 92 or so. But he had that smirk on his face after he did those first few outings, like, all right, I'm done toying with these guys. He was definitely holding back in the beginning.
Yeah, so I feel like, again, spring training, he's working on stuff. Seems like he's actually just working on using the sinker as his main fastball, something we saw the Orioles do with Kyle Bradish to get more effectiveness out of his fastball, main fastball. So I'm not giving up on Trey Gibson. I think his fastball, they'll work something out where it's at least good enough because his secondaries are probably some of the best in the organization, especially the death ball. So let's just cut to the chase. Let's get rid of that fastball that everybody hates and give him Esteban Mejia's fastball. So we're going to tick him up to sitting 97 to 99, able to touch 102 with the death ball. Yeah, I think he's making the team out of camp at that point.
That's Paul Skeens. If you combine those two, I mean, it really is. Upper 90s consistently with the secondaries. That's what you would have at that point. And Nick, I have to admit, I was the first one to go in and make my picks. But when I saw yours, I was like, I should have gone with that one. I should have gone with Jerron Watts Brown, the better fastball. That's a really good pool there. And I'll go to my pitcher. And for this one, on the surface, it might seem like I took two guys with frenzy stuff and combined them together. But when I thought about this more, I felt like this was the direction I wanted to go in. I decided to take Boston Bateman, young left-hander, 6'8", physically maxed out, projection-wise, but already throwing mid to upper 90s, really good fastball from the left side. One thing that I think we know that he has an issue with right now, though, is that there's not really a put-away pitch. What's that pitch he can go to when he's ahead in the count to get out of the at-bat, to strike the hitter out, induce weak contact, whatever he needs to do at that particular point. He's really been working on two different pitches for the last year. Baseball America wrote about this. John Mioli wrote a really good piece about this in the Banner last year after the Orioles acquired him from the Padres at the deadline. And the slider and the changeup have been big areas of focus. So I decided that the changeup we know is a pitch the Orioles like to work with their pitchers. And I decided to give Boston Bateman Carson Dorsey's changeup. Now, Dorsey, throughout much of the regular season, was struggling to get swings and misses, and a lot of that was because he came off the IL mid-season, and you could tell it took a while for the command to come back. But of his secondaries, his changeup was clearly the sharpest in the regular season, and it seemed to get better as the regular season went on. You move on to the Arizona Fall League, changeup was averaging about 84 miles an hour, producing a 31% whiff rate. Now, if you took that and you combine it with Boston Bateman's fastball that could run anywhere in a given start from 93 to 98, and a slider that is improving a little bit, you'd have a guy that I think you could look at right now and project as a major league starter. If you had to go on pure ceiling, I think that Boston Bateman's the guy that you would probably project as maybe the second best pitcher in this farm system, but there are a lot of questions about the secondaries, and be able to give him a changeup that produces swing and miss at the rate that Dorsey's did in the Arizona Fall League and towards the end of the regular season over the pitch that Bateman has right now, which is really raw and really still a work in progress, you'd be able to really move him up these prospects lists.
I like the Bateman call because, from the moment the Orioles traded for him, pretty much everyone has said the same thing. Change up. Work ethic is there, incredibly large human being, but athletic, couple of potential plus offerings already, like a lot to dream on. But if you give him even just an above average changeup, Bateman's profile gets a big bump. And I thought, how do I take Trey Gibson and let's just give every pitcher in the organization Trey Gibson's death ball with the swagger of Ariel Roque, and then we've got a super team that can take on anybody in the street. But yeah, I like the Boston Bateman pick. To go off bold predictions from last time, it would not shock me if Boston Bateman is a guy who explodes this year. You get him. The Padres drafted him in the second round, a $2 million arm who's committed to LSU. Orioles have had all offseason now to put their touches on him and see what they can do with him. And I trust this pitching development a lot better than anything the Padres do in the minor leagues. Their player development, the horror stories that come out of that organization on the player development side. I am excited to see what Orioles pitching development is going to do with Boston Bateman this year, because we talk about, you don't see lefties with Gongora's velo or Luis De Leon's velo and stuff like that. You don't see any pitcher really the size that Boston Bateman is and his stuff already as a teenager. I'm excited to see what the Orioles can do with him this year.
Yeah, I like it as well. And I was happy to see him get into some game action. Get to see him on Masson or whatever feed they probably pirated for their own uses. Was nice to see him on the mound. I think he gave up a home run early with some little jitters, spring training jitters, but thought he settled down nicely, looked pretty strong. Yeah, I think the upside is already pretty big for him. We just have to see it develop, and at his size, it's going to maybe take a little bit longer than a lot of guys to get there. But if he had that changeup ready to go right now, yeah, I think he's clear top 10 prospect for us, and the upside is just that much higher.
Yeah, with Bateman, like I said, the physical projection, I think he's already kind of maxed out. I don't know the fastball can get a whole lot better, and it's fine if it doesn't because it's already a really good pitch. But if you could just throw in another secondary here, make it more consistent, give him a good secondary to go with, and I think you've got a major league starter.
Agreed.
And with that, that does it for this episode. We will be back next week to break down the latest news in Orioles camp. We may or may not have some guests, so stay tuned to our social media channels. And there are plenty of social media channels that you can follow us on, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. We're also over at Substack, OriolesOnTheVerge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon.com and sign up to become a member of the $3, $5, or $10 levels today. You'll have access during the regular season to bonus weekly content from Bob, Nick, and myself, as well as monthly updates to our top 50 list, as well as ad-free episodes and access to patron-exclusive channels within our Discord community. So be sure to head over to patreon.com to check that out. And as a reminder, make sure to mark your calendars for Sunday, March 29th. Bob and I will be joined by Connor Newcomb of Locked On Orioles for a special live show at Checker Spot Brewing that will get underway at 12:30 p.m. That will give us plenty of time, if you have Orioles tickets that day, to come over, have a beer, hang out with us before you head over to that afternoon's game between the Orioles and the Twins at 1:35. And if you don't have tickets to the game, just hang out at Checker Spot after the show, because plenty of good food and drink and a lot of good viewing options there to watch the game. So be sure to check out our social media in the coming weeks, as well as Checker Spot's social media. And if you go into Checker Spot's tap room, located at 1421 Ridgely Street in Baltimore, you'll be able to get more information on that event. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Spedden. You've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.
You're a pro at running your life, at committing to your workout, at showing up every day. At Bombas, we're pros too. Pros at making socks. Our sport assortment has specialized socks for whatever sport you're committed to. Running, hiking, golf, Pilates, and so much more. Made with sweat-wicking yarns, blister-fighting details, and targeted arch support. Bombas Sport is pro-level socks from the pros of socks. For another pro, you. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com and use code audio.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.